Hello, good people. Welcome back to another blessed message with Lady Ni, also known as Minister. Hey. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us all rejoice and be glad in it. You hear me? Okay, so the title of this message will be The Wise Counsel of the Elders. Okay? So, y'all know I like to give a little bit of history, to frame certain scriptures and to demonstrate how it's still relevant to our current times. So, just a little bit about me. I am probably one of the most stubborn people you'll ever meet, okay? Now, often stubborn is used to describe someone who is difficult, you know, and all of those things. But in my case, my stubbornness has helped to propel me to certain levels in life. Okay, my resilience, my ability to just not give up, not give in, has been critical to making me the person I am today. Okay, so it's not all bad. Because some of the experiences that I have encountered would probably crush other individuals, and it's only by the grace of God that I am here. You hear me? But yeah, if I told y'all the whole story, y'all wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Um, and this is exactly why I know that on this earth, yes, we have those physical things that we're going through and physical encounters. However, there is a lot of spiritual warfare at bay, okay, taking place, okay? So just be mindful of that, especially when you start to increase your faith in God. Things are going to come at you. You hear me? So I want to encourage you. But here's the thing: one of the key ingredients to development and resilience, and building up your tenacity to handle situations. We talk about we spoke about how David has stamina. Your spiritual stamina is important. But one of the key ingredients to that is counsel, the wise counsel of elders. Okay, so there are people who have experienced certain things in life that can impart knowledge to you, and I know sometimes it's difficult for younger people to accept. That was one of my things too. We all go through that. There's a phase that you go through, that teenage phase, the young adult phase, where you think you know everything. No one can tell you anything. We've all been there, okay? And if you're still young, you won't get there. The thing is that oftentimes we reject the information that the elders provide, not knowing that it's actually wisdom. It's actually relevant. Actually, it's really helpful in a lot of situations. We don't want to listen. We don't want to hear it. We want to shut it down and say, I'm going to do things my way. Okay. And that's great. However, some of the advice will save you a lot of heartache and pain over time if you just listen. Okay. Some of it is factual. And I've benefited from having mentors who were older and wiser. That's the thing I didn't realize at the time. I was really young, but I was surrounded by older folk who were, oh my goodness, they were angels in disguise. I didn't realize that the knowledge that I learned from them would be useful and really helpful in my later years. And I want to just take a moment to say rest in peace to a few of my mentors who have passed on, a few of the people who had influenced me. I know that they would really be proud of the woman that I am today and the woman that I will continue to grow to be. So, yeah, a moment just to recognize and honor those folk who they poured into me, and even those who are still living and breathing. I thank God for them. I'm really grateful for everything that has been poured into me. I didn't know at the time that it would bring me to this point in life, but now that I can sit back and reflect, oh my goodness, how helpful is that information? How helpful has it been? Ooh. the challenges that I face without some of those words of wisdom, I wouldn't be here. So my advice and my advisement to anyone is to listen to certain people. And you may not uh, feel like it's acceptable at the time, that it's relevant at the time, but you never know when you'll use it. I tell my children all the time, one day I won't be here with you. So I'm giving you gems now so that you can treasure and value them later. So you can pull out those little recipes for life. You'll have them with you. So this is a really important message, okay? Yeah, I'm really happy about this. I'm excited because honestly, I wasn't even going to do a message today, and God said you had to speak this one up. And here we are. So we're going to be in 1 Kings 12. I don't know who know this story, but this is about the wise counsel of elders, and it's all going to relate to what I just stated. You have to listen. Put it in your back pocket. Even if you don't agree with it at the moment, sometimes silence is golden. Just be quiet. Take it all in. Let it soak into your soul until it's necessary. You know, that's just like we have army, and then we have army reserves. Okay, so when people are at war, we don't know when that's going to take place. But if those soldiers are limited, we have the army reserve to come in and back it up. So that's how you have to think of words of advice. Use what you can when it's necessary, and the rest save it for later. That's how it is. Yeah, we're going to save what's necessary for later. And when the time is right, you pull it out. Okay? I hope I said that correctly. But I'm sure I did because God is leading. So again, 1 Kings 12. Now we know Rehoboam. Rehoboam is the son of Solomon. So he actually takes over the kingdom after his father is passed over or passed on from this life. Okay. So the thing about Rehoboam, he did the right thing. He consulted with certain elders, okay? But the thing is, he questioned their advice. He questioned the counsel. And this is where it's important to know when to just be quiet, absorb the information, and use it to your benefit, and when it's time to seek out other advice from other people. But let's just get into the word, okay? So starting at verse 3, it says, so they sent for Jeroboam, and he and the whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, and that's why I repeated the word, because don't get it confused. So anyway, it says, your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you. Okay, so they're essentially saying that Solomon was strict. He gave us too much. We're asking you to pull back a little bit, you know, in your leadership. And this is an important point also. Sometimes, you know, when people make a request, you have to consider the reasoning behind the request, okay? It's not always just against you. It's not to tell you what to do or to undermine your authority. It's because it will make everything run smoothly. It will help everyone involved in the situation. So sometimes you have to listen. Okay. Now, Rehoboam answered in verse 5. He says, go away for 3 days and then come back to me. So the people went away. Okay, so this is smart because he said, let me take this into consideration. Let me sit on it. Let me think about it. Okay. And that's important when you receive a request, just to think about it, you know, reflect. That's exercising wisdom, because you don't want to just start saying things without actually thinking. We think before we speak. Okay. And then verse 6, it says, the king, Rehoboam, consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. How would you advise me to answer these people? He asked. They replied, if today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants. That's right. What they say, you can catch more bees with honey. You catch more flies with honey. Yeah, so sometimes it's like, being compassionate, working with the people, empathizing, being kind, being genuine, being peaceful. All these things actually help you along the way. You know, not everyone wants an aggressive, abrasive leader that's real strict and tell them it's my way or the highway. No, some people just want to be cuddled. Some people want to feel like their opinions matter. So this also allows me to think about the different forms of leadership. You know, there are different styles of leadership. So some people are authoritarian, where it's like my rule. These are the guidelines you have to follow. And then there's laissez-faire, which is really relaxed and like, hey, hands off, y'all make up your own decisions. And then there's some in the middle where they know how to lead as part of the team and working with the team, taking inputs, being democratic. Yes, there's a democratic leadership style where you allow others to share their viewpoints and to share their opinions about various matters. That is what the people was actually requesting. And the elder said, hey, it's in your best interest if you listen and you actually give them what they want. Give the people what they want. It's not going to take anything away from you. I think also sometimes people get in certain positions of power and they just want to have control. Again, this is where it's a dangerous line because you start to lead into that area of witchcraft when you just want to control every person, every situation. No, especially in the eyes of God. He gives you positions and titles to honor the kingdom of heaven, not to control people, not to manipulate situations. We have to be careful about that. Okay? So, Rehoboam in verse 8 says, and he rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. He asked them, what is your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, lighten the yoke your father put on us? Aha! You know, we have peer groups. We have certain settings where we're amongst people around our same age, our same level of education, with our same backgrounds. Okay, that is great. That is great for certain activities. However, when you're trying to take over a position that was held for years before you, you know, you want to make sure you're consulting with people who have experience, who have also a relationship with God, you know, especially when we talk about Christians, you know, in Christian leadership. You want to make sure these people are saved and sanctified. You don't just talk to any old body just because you grew up with them. Okay? Just because you know of them. They might not be on the same level or the same page as what God would have you be. So this is critical right here. He said it was young men he had grown up with. So y'all on the same level. Y'all have the same knowledge. Y'all have the same experience. So they only can tell you what they know. That's why we seek the wise counsel of elders. People who have been through some stuff, who've gone there, been there, you know. And yes, sometimes the elders can be judgmental, you know. And I think that's why some young people reject the information that the elders want to impart. However, there has to be a balance. Older people have to know how to communicate with younger people. Younger people have to know how to respect the words and advice from older people, okay? I've been blessed, like I said before, to be in the circle and the spaces with older people. I didn't know at the time that it was going to be critical and important in my life. I didn't. I promise you that. However, God used that. He used those experiences, those relationships that were actually lopsided in the eyes of the world. They're like, why are you hanging out with somebody that old and you so young? But I've always been mature in how I just deal with life. You know, I've always had a certain level of maturity, emotional intelligence. Even in my hot-headedness, I was able to, you know, come back to a resting place, you know, remain balanced, get back focused. I've always been able to juggle multiple responsibilities. But again, it was based on the wise counsel of the elders. Oh, I'm not going to name names, but just thinking back and reflecting on how my relationships with certain people have actually shaped me is amazing. Thank you, God. Thank you for the wise counsel of elders. Okay. So you can saw his friends, his peers, they the same boat. They have never, and this is another critical point. They have never walked in this position. They have never been king. He's consulting with people who have never been in that position. Think about that. Who has never served in that capacity. Okay? Now, we're not going to say that youthful people don't have wise advice or they can't be trusted or anything like that. That's not the point. The point is you have to be sure. You have to know the difference. You have to be able to distinguish between a righteous advice, righteous counsel, or something that's going to lead you down a dark path. You have to be wise and when selecting information. So it says in verse 10, the young men who had grown up with him replied, tell these people who have said to you, your father put a heavy yoke on us, but make our yoke lighter. Tell them, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke. I will make it even heavier. Wow. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. So not only are they telling him that, okay, your father, he ruled with a heavy hand, but you need to come in there even harder after the people requested that he pull back. So they're not even considering the fact that the people have made specific requests. They're saying, well, I don't care about that. What my father did, I'm going to do 10 times more. It's going to be even more harsh, more difficult. I'm going to make it more challenging for you all. They're not thinking with the heart of God. They're not thinking in terms of righteousness. What's the right thing to do? I've always said, always do the right thing, even when it's difficult. Do the right thing. There's no reason for him to rule with a harsher hand when he's just stepping into the position. He has no information to suggest that he needs to be harsh towards his subjects. No, there's no reason for that. See, the peers are just, they have a certain ideology. They think the harder you go on folk, then the more they'll obey, the more they'll respect your authority. That's what they thinking. But again, you catch more flies with honey. Sometimes you just have to be nice, graceful, gentle, until people demonstrate otherwise. That's the thing. Give people a chance until they demonstrate that they need a harsher rule. Okay. So 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to Rehoboam, as the king had said. Okay, so they came back and said, the king answered the people harshly, rejecting the advice given him by the elders. He followed the advice of the young men and said, my father made your yoke heavy. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. And that's another thing. So he repeated exactly what the peers told him to say. I just told my child, be your own man. Be your own person. Don't be influenced by the viciousness of others, the ill intent, the ill will of others. You have to know when it's time to do the right thing and to step into your righteousness. And just because they said it don't mean you have to repeat it. Just because they do it don't mean you have to do it. They put this peer pressure on him. And that's another distinction between the wise counsel of elders versus what you're going to get from your friend circle. You on their level. They see you as equal. And this is another little sidebar. Some people don't want you to do better than them. They clap for you. They happy for you. As long as you on their same playing field. You hear me? You the equal. That's what they want. But when you start doing better and greater, they get jealous. They get envious. It could have been a trap. They might not want him to excel in the position. So they're giving him all this negative advice. That's not going to get him anywhere. But let's continue the story. Okay, so in verse 15, so the king did not listen to the people, for this turn of events was from the Lord to fulfill the word the Lord had spoken to Jeroboam, son of Nebat. When all Israel saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, "What share do we have in David? What part in Jesse's son? To your tents, O Israel. Look after your own house, O David." So the Israelites went home. Meaning, we're not going to listen to you. We're not even going to accept you as king. You won't listen to us, and we reject you. How about that? So he essentially incited dispute unnecessarily. He could have came in there gently, peaceful, trying to work with the people. Instead, he decided to come at them harsh because he took wrong advice, and they rejected it. So let's continue because it gets juicy. In verse 18, King Rehoboam sent out Adoniram, who was in charge of forced labor. But all of Israel stoned him to death. So he thought he was going to send out his man to get these people in check. Y'all going to listen to me today. They said, no, we're not. And they stoned him. Okay? King Rehoboam, however, managed to get into his chariot and escape to Jerusalem. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to this day. So they, again, you know that Judah and Israel divided. Okay? Yep. When all the Israelites heard that Jeroboam had returned, they sent and called him to the assembly and made him king over Israel. Only the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the house of David. So Jeroboam, he became king over Israel, while Judah continued to, live on their own. So it was essentially, again, he created a dispute, a quarrel, a divide unnecessarily by wanting to exert his authority instead of listening to the people. The wise counsel of elders. So if you get nothing else from this particular story, it's to listen to your elders. No, seriously. It's to understand the difference between wise counsel versus people just inserting their opinions without any kind of documented history, any kind of data to show that what they say actually will be effective. You have to listen to people who can demonstrate the effectiveness of their counsel. What has worked in the past often can work in the future. Okay? Now, this is not to say stay stagnant and we're not developing and we're not learning new techniques. It's to say that some of the general principles and foundational principles, if you look at any organization or business, they are relevant over time. They are what spearheaded the business, and therefore they keep it going. You hear me? So sometimes traditions are in place for a reason. Some people want to come in there and they want to tear stuff up. Oh, we're going to do everything different. No, wait a minute. You gotta listen. And again, keep everything on this station in context. Y'all know, we keep everything in context. We make sure we look at things from a spiritual standpoint. We do everything in decency and order, meaning we follow the scripture and we consult with God through prayer. Okay? So, in context, traditions are there for a reason. Elders have knowledge that the young people just don't have. Knowledge and wisdom comes from experience over time. Over time. And as Ecclesiastes continues to remind me, nothing's new under the sun. That means that every experience that you've gone through, somebody else already went through that. And it's not unique to you. It's not about you. Therefore, they can provide some insight into every situation. That's the thing. So because Rehoboam didn't want to listen, he destroyed his rule before it began. He destroyed it. He was gifted a leadership position. He inherited a leadership position. And yeah, he didn't follow the wise counsel of the elders. Okay? So that's it. That's it right there. We will listen to our elders when it makes sense. And again, if it's not relevant in the moment, put it in your back pocket. Save it for later. Some things you just save it for later. When it's necessary, you pull it out. You know? So, that's it, good peoples. Take the word and read it. Consult with God in all things. All right. Be peaceful always. Walk in righteousness. Talk to you later.